Okay, this video is about types of chemical reactions, and there are 6 types of chemical reactions on the worksheet that I gave you that says types of chemical reactions at the top. One of them I'm going to tell you about, but we're not going to worry about it right now. Okay? So usually when somebody's telling you about the different types of chemical reactions, they write them in a formula, okay, using letters that aren't elements, like this. Okay, A plus B yields AB. Okay, so we have our reactants and our product. Okay, these are not shorthand for elements. They're just letters that represent different elements or different chemical compounds. This would be a compound, okay? So my reactants, A plus B yields AB. You're putting 2 things together, right? If you're putting 2 things together, it's called a synthesis reaction. Synthesis means putting together. And a real synthesis reaction is phosphorus plus oxygen yields phosphorus oxide. And that's not balanced. Now it's balanced, okay? But see how I've got 2 different things that I'm putting together to make one thing. So that 3 looks awful. So that's a synthesis reaction. Okay? Another kind of reaction, basic reaction, would be having AB as a reactant and it breaking down to A plus B. So you've got this compound in your reactants and your products are 2 separate atoms, okay? That is called a decomposition reaction. Decompose, break down like something's decaying, okay? So decomposition, break down from one thing into 2 things or more than 2 things. Usually it's just 2 things. And an example of a decomposition reaction calcium carbonate yields calcium oxide plus carbon dioxide. So we've got one compound breaking down into 2 separate compounds. Okay, so decomposition is breakdown. Synthesis means putting together. Then we have something that's, if I have A plus B plus C yields AC plus B. Okay? See how A is basically switched off? Over here it's A plus B in our reactants. And in our products it's AC and B's by itself. This is called a single displacement reaction. Single displacement because only one thing has moved. Well, 2 of them have switched. They've switched partners, okay? An example of a single displacement reaction is lead plus iron sulfate, and this SO4 NaOH ion stays together. So it yields lead sulfate plus iron. Okay? So that lead has taken over the sulfate ion and left iron by itself. Okay, that's a single displacement reaction. I used to work at a girls' school, and I used to describe it as snake in your date. Okay, so A and B went to the party together, and C was there, and A liked C better, so A went off with C and left B alone. Okay, so you can think of it that way if that helps. Okay, the next reaction is AB plus CD yields AC plus BD. And that is a double displacement reaction. If you want to go back to the date analogy, it's like A and B showed up at the dance together, and C and D were at the dance together, and then they switched partners. Okay? Double displacement reaction, you have two compounds that switch partners. And an example is magnesium chloride plus lithium carbonate yields magnesium carbonate plus lithium chloride. Okay, they just switched partners. Excuse me. One of the other types of reactions is called a combustion reaction. Combustion means burning, right? Anytime something reacts with oxygen by itself, it's a combustion reaction. If you leave an apple out and it's exposed to oxygen, what happens to the apple? It turns brown. That's a combustion reaction. The apple is undergoing combustion with the oxygen, okay? So an example of a combustion reaction would be and this is balanced, which is why the coefficients are so big. This is glucose, sugar, body sugar, plus oxygen yields carbon dioxide and water. Okay, water is always going to be one of your products of your combustion reaction. So the way you can tell it's a combustion reaction has oxygen on the reactant side and water on the product side. So let's do that. O2, H2O. And that's not balanced, but you're going to have oxygen on one side and water on the other side of a combustion reaction. The sixth type of reaction is called a neutralization reaction. Or an acid-base reaction, and we're not going to get to the chapter on acid and bases, but an example would be hydrochloric acid plus sodium hydroxide, which is lye, yields salt, NaCl, just salt, and water. So you can tell it's a neutralization reaction or an acid-base reaction because one of your reactants is going to have hydrogen. It's going to be an acid. One of your reactants is going to have an OH group, a hydroxide group, which is going to be your base. And the results are going to be a salt. And sodium chloride is just table salt and water. So that's the way you can tell it's a neutralization reaction. If you look for hydrogen, hydroxide, salt, and water.